Now from
Okay, we're just going to get right into it, I guess. Welcome to Sports Tonight. I am Ellie Parker here with Connor Hines.
Hey, Ellie.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Good to be back on the desk with you. Busy sports day in the A, as it always is. So it's good to be here.
Yep, we've got a lot to talk about and a lot of people to hear from. We're going to start with hearing from Kirk Cousins out in Flowery Branch before their divisional game against the Carolina Panthers.
NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Ellie. I
Yeah.
think there's a world in which he matches that Thursday night performance. Over 500 yards passing against the Bucs. I mean, if you're doing that against Tampa, got Carolina, they've been struggling.
You know,
a little bit.
we'll hear from Kirk because he does kind of address this with how your game plan changes from week to week. So he might not. There's a world where he definitely matches the 509 yards that he threw against the Buccaneers. But there was definitely some interesting tidbits in there about how the game plan changes and how his relationships with the receiving core and some other parts of the offense have been coming along.
World of difference. My
So
gosh.
let's get right into that.
Good to get back out here after a long weekend. I thought we had a sharp practice today. I'm not used to October 9th having it be 70-something degrees. This is kind of nice. I'm used to like hooded sweatshirt, 50 degrees, and so that was pretty nice. But, you know, just got to keep building and focus moves forward now to Carolina and going on the road and another divisional opponent, and would be great to be able to kind of, you know, grab another win in the division. So, that's where our focus goes, and take any questions you have.
Yeah, Kirk, could you discuss the evolution of the passing attack and how you all have been able to take steps each week coping with the 509 last timeout?
I do think there's been continuous improvement in the offense and in the pass game week to week. Certainly felt like there was a big jump this past Thursday night, but some of it was just, it's a week-to-week league, and you never know what each week is going to bring, and that just happened to be the game that was called. I remember like my second or third start in the league, Kyle Shanahan was calling the game, and I got to the end of the game, I threw for like 190 yards, and it wasn't an explosive game. And, you know, the narrative was, oh, you know, Kirk or the offense wasn't very good, and Kyle said back to me, he said, but that's not the game I called. The game I called was for you to throw about for 190 yards, and that was what we kind of gave you the chance to do. And so he made the point that some games are going to call for you to go out and throw for a whole bunch of yards, and some games are not going to call for you to do that, and we're going to have different plans. So I was reminded that again on Thursday night, that it's a week-to-week league, and Zach felt like, you know, that was how we were going to attack them, and it doesn't mean that that's how we're going to attack every single week. It doesn't mean that's the best way to attack every single week. So the key is that whatever you do, you find a way to do it well and to get a win each week, no matter how it's done.
You said after the game on Thursday that you were going to be kind of curious to see how the team came back, and they're showing complacency, things like that. I'm curious. And
Yeah.
what have you seen this week?
Yeah, you know, Ken, the living in the past thing, that gets me. That gets my blood boiling. So I just want to make sure that we're always looking forward, that we're focused on the next challenge, and it's a balance. You need to, you know, when you have a positive outing, you need to enjoy it. But we've had a long weekend, and now it's time to look forward and focus on Carolina. And, you know, as the great Bill Belichick would say, we're on to Cincinnati. He would say, I would say the same thing. We got to look forward.
How's your relationship with Darnell Mooney kind of evolved over the last few months?
Yeah, it's just been constant, you know, dialogue, constant reps, you know, learning, you know, the routes he likes, what he doesn't like, you know, how I can best, you know, get him the football. And I think having a locker next to him it creates good dialogue, you know, and just kind of your off time. But, you know, he's a pro. He works hard at it. He takes care of himself. And I just have a lot of trust that, you know, he's going to do what needs to be done. He's going to be where he needs to be. And he's ultimately going to make plays. And he's a talented player. And I just want to, you know, get him the football as best I can.
Trust is earned, and it's also like longevity and then, you know, shared stuff. It's only been a short period of time. Mm-hmm. What about him has, you know, caused you to trust him so much at this early stage?
I think there's times where like, first of all, physically, you got to see it on tape that he can separate, that he can win. And when you put that on tape, then you kind of earn that trust. I think then the other side of it is like, I think he's just very locked in, mentally. He's a pro. And so you feel like from his split to his depth to, emotion to the timing to just all the specificities of playing the position, you feel like the details matter to him. And the details matter to me, and so that I think that helps him be successful and helps me, trust him. But I would say the same about most of the guys on our team. There's a lot of guys who, although they're young, are they take their job very seriously, and it's important. It makes a difference for me.
He also seems to not be shy when it comes to the dialogue with you, telling you, "I like this." I
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Zach just came in here and said he does the same thing to him.
Yeah.
How often is Darnell communicating with you, hey, let's do this differently, and so on?
Yeah, like I said, locker next to him, so that creates a natural space to talk. I've always wanted to be like an open book or a safe place for people to come talk. I don't ever want receivers or teammates to feel like they can't come share something. So usually when you have good, candid conversations with guys, I think it oftentimes leads to us playing better. Even if maybe somebody doesn't hear what they want to hear, usually just that candid conversation allows guys to really feel like we're on the same page. So that's been good. And, he's another guy I think who likes a good voice memo from me. I think he texted me after the Saints game, maybe he just sent like a question mark or something. I think what he was saying was, "What are your thoughts?" So I voice memoed him, and I think he liked that. So I told him after the last game, I said, "I'll probably send you a voice memo," and I never did, but we ended up watching the film together with Drake and with Kyle and with Ray. We just kind of all sit down and watch the film together, and that's been really helpful to have that time to kind of talk through things, just us as players, and I think sometimes those meetings have helped translate then to the next game.
And
He
then
just
after
sent
the
you a
game
question. I'm sorry.
He sent, I don't know what the exact text was, but it wasn't long.
You want to just send me a question?
Yeah.
It wasn't long. I'll get back to you, Mark, on what exactly he sent. But it was basically just like a like just trying to get my thoughts, something like that. It wasn't you up, but it was something like that.
Like, what's up? I know that after the game on Thursday, you were talking about that connection took a natural progression. You felt that in the game.
Yeah.
I'm sure it feels good as a quarterback to make it feel like it's coming together to some.
Yeah, it does.
Do you allow yourself to get excited in that moment, or you're just looking at it like, all right,
Yeah, I think you got to enjoy it. I think there's a little bit of, okay, this is fun. I was warming up between drives with JK, one of our equipment staff members, and they put up some graphic that said I had thrown for a certain number of 300-yard games now, and Jake goes, that's pretty impressive. And I looked at Jake, and I'm like, I think we're going to need a lot more than just 300 for this game. We're going to need more. We need a couple touchdowns more. So my point is we were having fun, and I said, hey, let's just keep trying to go move the football and put up points and enjoy doing it. And that's always my message to the teammates during TV timeouts, and we're all just standing there looking at each other, and we have our nerves, and we're just standing there, nothing to do. I always say, hey, guys, if nothing else, let's just enjoy competing and enjoy the opportunity we have to compete, to be at our best, and let the chips fall where they may. And I think that was going on then, and it's got to be going on again on Sunday.
I guess more so, are you allowing yourself to get excited about the way that relationship between your receivers, because it's so crucial?
Yeah.
Is taking a step.
Yeah, I'm encouraged that it's taking a step forward, and we got to keep building on it. But I was encouraged by it, and I think that's where continuing to have good conversation and meet together and talk details. And there were a couple of moments in the game. One, Drake ran a route, similar route that he scored on a touchdown early in the game. He then ran it again later, and he kind of split two zoning defenders really quickly, and he did it so well, so quickly that it caught me off guard, and it was a fourth down. I actually had to progress, and I worked back to Mooney on the other side because Drake was wide open. I just wasn't ready. I didn't quite realize he was going to win so quickly. So then in the overtime, he did it again, and I was ready that time, and I hit him. And I said to him after the play, I was like, see, that's where you were doing everything right. I just wasn't on the same page, and we were able to then carry it over into an overtime, play where we were able to hit it. So you just feel like, okay, I'm starting to learn how he's doing it. And then we watched the film together. I pointed out, I want you doing this. Don't think because you didn't get the ball that you did it wrong. You did exactly right. I want you to give me that body language, and then I'll throw it to you more decisively. So just good conversation, and even when it's not perfect, you can learn from those reps.
When you have those conversations, are you getting?
All right. Hawks, Panthers.
Falcons, Panthers.
Or Falcons, Panthers, because I'm already thinking about the Hawks. Because they're
Hold on,
next.
Before
Hold on.
we get there, predictions. for this Sunday in Carolina, because I know Atlanta's, I want to say they're hovering around a touchdown favorite right now. I think it's going to get a lot worse than that, to be honest with you. I know playing on the road in the NFL in a divisional game is no joke.
Okay.
But Carolina hasn't really shown me much.
And
Have they shown
especially
you
against the Bears last week.
Oh, okay. Our
It-
resident Chicago.
It showed. Hey, you keep ranting about the Padres.
You're right.
I get my Bears.
Go off.
It looked like the magic was starting to run out with Andy Dalton. That the Panthers were who we thought they were. Yes, Andy Dalton is currently a better quarterback than Bryce Young, but it looked like the shine was starting to come off.
I also think Chuba Hubbard is, Raheem Morris has already talked about him this week as just a guy who's really tough to game plan for defensively, just in the versatility that he brings as well. So it's not to say that the Panthers aren't an adequate NFL team. We just know how this division goes year after year. We know how winnable this division is for Atlanta. And I'd really be shocked if the Falcons didn't go on the road with a sense of urgency to just capitalize on this game and not make it a game at all. So
Falcons
will
by
tell,
3
but-
scores for me.
What's that?
Falcons by 3 scores for me.
See, I think that's completely realistic this weekend. We'll wait and see. I think it's a 4:25 first kick. Kickoff, first kick. What am I saying?
Okay.
Sunday afternoon. Okay, basketball?
Basketball, bringing it back to where my head was.
Reeling it back in.
The Hawks, beginning preseason play, won a nail biter, 131 to 130 against the Indiana Pacers, because
It's a way
this
to get
Hawks
it.
team, they're winning games. I'll give them that. They're winning games.
Are they
Even
going
if
to be
it's the preseason,
the heart
even
attack
if they're
Hawks?
again giving up 130 points.
not optimal? But it is the preseason, Ellie. And there's a lot of reasons to think that the Hawks are going to struggle this year, especially given that you don't have DeJounte Murray anymore. And given what you may or may not have received in exchange for DeJounte Murray. But what a way to start the preseason.
Yeah. What a way. And, Jalen Johnson decided to go off. 8 of 12 from the floor, 19 points, led the Hawks in scoring. And we're going to hear from him and head coach Quinn Snyder. They talked to the media after the game and talked about what they've been doing over the summer and how they think the season's going to go.
How does this roster this year, maybe is built to compete a little bit better in some of those situations?
I mean, it's tough to tell. We haven't really played a regular season game yet, but shit, just even the Pacers on Tuesday night, we were down 17 in the first quarter. And then we look up, we're winning by 3 at the end of the first. So just signs like that, little things like that, being able to rally as a group and make those type of comebacks and chip into leads like that. I think that's going to take us a long way. If we can stay consistent with that, I think sky's the limit. If we continue to build off of that, build on those good habits, I think it'll turn out good for us.
And on Tuesday, it seemed like you were really aggressive in trying to get to the basket, play through contact. What were some of the things that you worked on this summer that maybe prepared you for some of these moments?
It's just playing basketball. I mean, it was great passes. It's just me reading the game, just knowing when to cut, when to attack my man. So I think it's just all instinct.
What do you kind of look for in those moments that kind of tell you, okay, this is my time to cut? Is it looking when the defender's looking away, checking their eyes, just looking at their
Yeah, for sure. We call that reading the defender. Whatever the defender's doing, you're going to be able to make a read off of them, whether it's make a pass or whatnot. I think most NBA players are able to read the defender, some higher than others, so I think it's just a read at the end of the day.
With Zachary and Veep and Kobe, there's kind of 3 guys on Tuesday who weren't in the rotation last year, kind of stepped up and looked like they're ready to make an imprint on the team. What did you see from them and their performances?
Well, Zach looked great, as we all expect to hear. He hasn't been getting the love, that most number 1 picks get, but he's been great. It was great seeing him just come out there confident, shoot his shots, and do what he does. Like, that's a huge sign. Like me, my first preseason game, like I wasn't at his level, course, but like just as far as just the confidence right off the jump, like it was no hesitations. And then Kobe, he's just gotten so much smarter, and then everybody's seen his physique. He's gotten so much stronger as well. So I think, and he puts in a lot of work as well too. Like all those young guys, beat Zach and Kobe, they're in the gym every morning, no matter what. Good game, bad game, long day, off day, no matter what it is, they're in the gym. So I'm excited to see their growth and them get the opportunity they deserve.
Yesterday practice, you had on Njeka's practice jersey backward. What was that?
Just revving number 17, man. Ain't nothing much to it. He was out last game, so show him a little love.
But he's not your best friend.
I can't say that. Y'all can't have me on recording saying that. No man.
Need sources or something.
Right.
How important is it for you to kind of go full force in these preseason games and kind of get yourself kind of a rhythm?
I think it's just me about just continuing to build myself in those high-minute game conditions. Like, even though I didn't play the whole game, like I'm trying to sprint as much as possible, build my wind up. I'm in good shape now, but just to continue to build on that, I think that's going to be huge for me going into the regular season.
What have they kind of talked to you about as far as plan for how much you might play during the preseason?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I know I'm going to play against Philly, and we'll just see where things go from there. There's nothing set in stone or none of that, so we'll see.
How's the adjustment process like wearing ankle support? Does it feel different? Does it feel natural?
No, I got some really good ankle braces that I still got my pop, like my jump. Like, most ankle braces feel kind of bulky in them. So I'm glad I got the right pair that, I can still jump. And it didn't even feel like I was wearing them the other day, so that's a good thing. That's something that you can always look forward to. So, yeah.
How do you feel like this roster is maybe kind of built a little bit more to have a little bit more success in those situations?
Well, first of all, this is like one of those incomplete assessments, because if you're down 15 with 6 minutes to play, you suddenly find yourself in clutch situations because you've gone on a run, or maybe more importantly, you're up.
Yeah.
Which also happened to us, and the other team goes on a run, and now you put yourself in a clutch situation. So you're putting yourself in that situation, which isn't reflective of a back and forth game where there's a 4-point lead and a 6-point lead. That's the question that you're asking. The other two happen. I think having clarity down the stretch, and the biggest thing is getting stops. It's hard to score late in an NBA game. It's hard to get. You have to make shots. Sometimes those shots are more contested. The way to score is to get stops and to score in transition. One thing that'll be important for us is there's a mindset where you can continue to attack, and there's also a mindset where not one player has to do that. The times when I think teams are good in clutch, oftentimes those are situations where a defense does something to take something away, and then other people have to step up and make plays. And both the person with the ball, that player understanding that and having trust in the teammate, and then the teammate having the confidence and the freedom to take those shots. And not always going to make them, but again, you go get a stop, that changes it.
So does it help that you have, multiple guys who can now handle the ball, who can create for others? That kind of opens up a little bit more versatility, maybe?
Yeah, if you use them, if you try to play one-on-one, like in those situations, it's really hard. I think you just still have to attack collectively. But yeah, to have I think there's times when you get the ball to Nikola Jokic, who's the MVP of the league, and he settles everybody and either takes a shot or gets someone else an open shot. It's very clear. I think in our case, if there isn't complete clarity, obviously, that's a time for Trey, to impose himself on the game. But oftentimes what that will look like, or could look like, it could look like him creating a shot for himself. It could look like him creating in pick and roll, but it could also look like, him spacing because he's, played a dribble handoff with JJ. So there's more actions that I think that can come into play, and he doesn't always have to be the player that's initiating that. But again, I think the biggest, we can talk about all that. I think, people are, coaches included and players are interested in that, but it could come down to something really simple as just stopping the other team. And that's where, your focus has to be on both of those things, obviously. Okay, all right. That's a good question.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see how the Hawks do in the rest of the preseason. Obviously, looking forward to the games that actually matter.
Got about a week off before
Got
this
about a
next
week
preseason
off.
game. Back at State Farm Monday night against the Sixers. So just only 4 opportunities here to see what this team's about. Of course, the NBA season is so dang long already. Don't get me started. But I think we're going to learn more about this team sooner rather than later and how Reece Ashe is meshing into the fold. The reviews are in, though, the early reviews at least, and they're pretty good. So
Yeah, they won the game. Ain't stupid if it works. Moving on. The
baseball
National League Division Series last night. The New York Mets.
Yeah.
Finished off the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor is him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
everything about what the Mets are doing right now, I mean, regardless of who comes out of the other
the
end,
vibes.
yes,
The vibes are with the Mets. I'm going to admit it.
like super vibey team. And
Yes.
and it's not because Grimace is at the ballpark. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's got everything to do with Francisco Lindor doing everything that he promised.
This team somehow takes the first 5 innings off and then goes, all right, time to win the game.
Right.
That had the best record in baseball since the All-Star break.
Since June, I think.
And this was a team before the All-Star break that was in the toilet. That was not doing well. Jorge Lopez obviously had the incident where he threw the glove and called the Mets the worst team in baseball. And then they let him go. But...
And to everyone out there that says the baseball season is too short, we were just talking about the NBA season being too long. But, I mean, the time to turn it around, I mean, you don't see that. You don't see that kind of dramatic turnaround or the opportunity for that kind of dramatic turnaround in other sports
and then
in the same way.
And then in the American League, you've obviously got the Tigers, who, again and again, I'm going to say this 0.2% chance to make the playoffs on August 10th. We're 10 games under 500, and they're in the ALDS. They have a shot to go to the ALCS.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Neither of these teams was supposed to be here.
No, and that's what makes the playoffs great. And I mean, I think this new format that we've gone with, there's been a lot of criticism. Oh, well, the teams that get the bye aren't going to be able to advance. First of all, let's throw that out the window right now.
Boo-hoo. Get good.
Having a bye is never, ever a bad thing. So the idea that all these teams that don't have to play the first wild card round are actually at a disadvantage makes no sense. And it's a small sample size to go off of, first and
my
foremost.
personal theory is that the 6th seed is often the team that's just getting hot at the right time. We're seeing this with the Mets. We're seeing this with the Tigers. Last year we saw it with the Diamondbacks.
Without a doubt.
So
And
it's just the 6th seed just happens to be the team that's getting hot at the right time.
And there's something to be said for the wild card teams that have maybe had to fight a little harder in the second half of the season than
look at the Mets,
the division champs.
It came down to the final day, came down to one swing by one Francisco Lindor.
I don't think that, and I don't think the new format rewards one team or the over the other, wild card team versus division champ. I think if anything, it just makes it more balanced and shows the true indication of who's good and who's getting good at the right time. So I think I like the new format,
I do too. I do too.
And I think it's made for some really compelling divisional series so far.
And part of it is like with these last few years, you have the Dodgers, who are, to be blunt, a team that is not built for October baseball. They are not. This team keeps relying on ace-level guys who keep getting injured, which is not really a winning recipe in October. Yes, you had the 2020 World Series win. That was a very, very weird situation.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's an illegitimate World Series. It counts as much as anyone else does. I don't think you're not going to look in the Atlanta metro area and hear anybody complaining about 1995. So, like, it's not an illegitimate World Series, but it was really a perfect confluence of events for the Dodgers where that pitching strategy works.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And I mean, pitching is the most important thing when it comes to MLB postseason. And guess what? We're seeing that again this year. So Game 5 between LA and San Diego is going to be great, as we knew it would be, as we knew this series would come down to a Game 5, kind of a series that deserves a Game 5.
Oh, it will be so funny. It will be hilarious if the Dodgers season is ended by Yu Darvish pitching a gem in Dodger Stadium in an elimination game.
San Diego fan over here is hoping that's the case.
It will be hilarious. I will be laughing so hard because obviously you remember 2017. And Darvish, regardless of what you think about the trash cans and all that, he kind of flopped right at the end there in Game 7.
Sure. Dodgers aren't
So
well liked around these parts.
It would be very funny.
We'll see.
Going to a team that is not exactly playing any games at the moment.
No.
The Braves have reportedly fired 3 coaches, despite Brian Snitker saying, I'm going to try and run it back with this coaching staff. No. According to sources, hitting coach Kevin Seitzer, assistant hitting coach Bobby Magallanes, and butchered that name, and catching coach Sal Fasano have been informed they will not be retained for 2025.
Yeah, look, I mean, we knew injuries were kind of the story of the season for the Braves. Clearly, Brian Snitker and Alex Anthopoulos thought it was more than just injuries, and I think...
And, I mean, the offense was not there for a good chunk of the season.
Especially when you consider the drop-off to where they were the year before.
Yeah.
Leading almost every offensive statistical category in 2023. Drop off down to the middle of the pack, in some cases below the middle of the pack in a lot of different statistical categories. You can see why they're making a change.
Yes.
It's a little confusing that Brian Snitker said just 6 days ago that they weren't going to make any changes, but reporting
And
out there...
maybe it wasn't a Snitker decision. Maybe this was Alex Anthopoulos coming in and saying, okay, this is a change we need to make.
I think Snitker had a hand in it at the very least, because when Snitker was asked about that last week, he said, no, I don't have any plans to change. And then Alex was asked about it right after, and he said, it's Snit's staff. I go as Snit goes. So I think Snitker certainly had a choice in the matter. In the last week, they've apparently had a lot of eval conversations and have arrived at this decision. Going to be interesting. They're going to replace the 2 hitting coaches. They're not going to replace the catching coach.
Yeah. So send us home. What's on your mind?
Oh man, in the vein of the MLB postseason, let me go off for 20 seconds here. The ump cam, the in-game interviews.
It's so weird.
All the gimmicks.
Ump cam, I hate it.
All the gimmicks. I understand trying to make baseball interesting. This is not the vehicle to do it.
No.
Because it distracts from the product on the field. And I think the product right now in the MLB postseason is taking care of itself. Get rid of the ump cam.
Pencil that in for tomorrow as a broader topic because we could go on about this for 5 minutes.
I do not want to see it again. I will.
As for what's on my mind, do you know what backyard baseball is?
Oh, yes, I do.
The new sort of remaster of it came out today. Of course, being a millennial with many, many memories
of
playing the game at my grandmother's house. Hi, Grandma Barb. Of course, I bought it. So it's back. Pablo Sanchez is
We
back.
got to talk about this tomorrow, too.
Pencil that in.
Love that.
This has been ANF Plus Sports Tonight. For Connor Hines, I'm Ellie Parker. We got to get out of here and watch some sports.